We are live. Eagles Talk, A2D Radio. It's the Saquon Barkley Revenge Game recap. Great show for you tonight. Let's get into it. Let's get right into it. Let's go.
If you love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah. You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah. Philadelphia!
Eagles Talk A2D Radio. We are brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. So make sure you mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. It's your boy Chucks. It's PY, and soon Pete Evans will be on with us, as well as Les Bowen with Bowen on the Birds. But PY, how you feeling today? I'd have to imagine you're feeling really good.
Why would I be feeling really, really good?
Huh? What?
I mean, after they won, yeah, but I thought you meant something else.
No, it was a great win, so you're feeling good, right?
100%, especially.
I set you up for like a layup response, and like you made it so awkward. You made it so awkward. Like I don't know why you had to do that, but whatever. All right, we're getting the train rolling. But yes, the Saquon revenge game is complete and it went down really well. We're going to talk about that. We're going to recap the rest of the game, give our top performances we usually do, things that stood out and all the such. But our poll question tonight: Saquon Barkley should continue to be the primary focal point of the Eagles offense. Agree or disagree? PY, let's kick it off. What do you think?
Is the Pope Catholic? Like, what are we doing here? Like, of course, he should be the focal point. Like, he is your bread and butter. He is everything that you need right now. He's taking the pressure off Jalen. You can run the offense through him. It's going to set up the deep shots. It's going to let A.J. Brown do what he's got to do. It's going to let Devontae Smith do what he has to do. You know, you're going to get your Dallas Goedert stuff here and there. But, like, Saquon is the straw that stirs the drink. Like, that's what he is. Like, everything that can happen with Saquon Barkley in this offense is next level. Like, and you saw it on Sunday. Like, the fact that he had a stellar game, and he still had like another quarter to where he could have got 200 yards. Like he could have broke his record. But in true veteran fashion, in true professional fashion, he let the other guys go get it. Like, you know, like he let Will Shipley get some run. Like, he let Kenny Gainwell get some run. Like, other guys might have been like, I want my record. I want this. I want that. That's not Saquon. Saquon is team first, everything else second. I don't need to look out for me. I want to look out for the younger guys. And that's what you want on this football team. You want that explosive playmaker. You want that leader. You want that guy who's going to be able to take you over the top while also going out of his way to help his younger teammates. Like, that's exactly what you have in Saquon Barkley. Like, he is a game changer and a game wrecker, and everything needs to go through him if you want success this season.
Got it. Okay, so I am also going to agree to the poll. The reason you made good points. There are, I'd say, you've got two elite weapons on this offense, right? You've got Saquon, you've got AJ, right? So, in years past, we've pretty much essentially run the offense through AJ Brown as the main guy, and seeing him come back, right? He's shown that he is elite for a reason. He corrects a lot of the flaws that this offensive system or scheme might have. You know what I mean? So, like, there aren't many teams that could just be like, okay, like third down, fourth down, we're just gonna chuck it deep to AJ. He's gonna catch it. Like, that's a rare quality to have, and a rare asset to have as a team. So AJ Brown is absolutely one of the focal points of this offense, and it's great to have him. But I'm gonna agree to the poll because with Saquon, we're seeing that um it establishes what us as a city, Philadelphia, we want to be a run first team. We always have wanted to be. Now, with me, I've always kind of pushed back on that, like, hey, you don't have to be run first to have success. But it goes beyond just being run first. I think that it truly does set up, and if you've watched the film, you can see that there's so much more of a Kellen Moore influence in this offense progressively week after week now that the guys are healthy, and we're seeing some creative run designs by Stoutland and Moore. It's really fun to watch, and I think from it opens up a lot of the play action, and then it also opens up Jalen Hurts as a runner. We've seen some things on against the Giants where he didn't necessarily keep it, but now, like, the fact that the defense still accounts for Jalen Hurts as a runner, it opens things up for Saquon. And of course, in other games, it would be vice versa. Like, defenses are still going to key in on Saquon at times, and it'll open up stuff for Hurts as a runner. And we saw that even the week prior against the Browns. So it's I think that having that as your identity of running the ball and having Saquon be the main focal point um, right now is the way to go, because this team is still searching for an identity. But if anything, Saquon has been our MVP through this season so far, 7 weeks in, 6 games, and I don't think anyone can deny that. So why not just keep going? Have him be the focus. And of course, it's not to say that we don't. It's not to say that we don't need AJ Brown. It's not to say that Saquon is better than AJ Brown or anything like that. Again, they are our two elite weapons on offense, and it's nice to be able to not have to rely just on AJ Brown, who corrects a lot of the stuff that this offense may have flaws in. So I love the idea of having that option. It's a good problem to have. So, and I know there are some people that I've talked to, they still want to say, like, no, it's AJ Brown. You have to go through AJ Brown. And I totally understand that. But so far this year, we seem to have success and rely on Saquon so much. So I think that it just makes sense to continue that trend. And I'm going to get to the chat, and then we'll bring in our good friend Les Bone. But we got Povia saying, what up, fam? Barkley is balling out. Brian Daly says, yes, I agree to the poll. He has shown week after week he can continue keep defenses on their toes and get yards. Matthew Wall says Barkley should have been the focal point of the offense from the jump. And then Don says, to all the people who say their running back position doesn't matter anymore, can shut the hell up now.
Ask Brock Purdy if it matters.
Well, it matters. It definitely helps your QB out. Definitely a ton. So keep the comments coming in, guys. And right now we're gonna bring in the show's best friend, Mr. Les Bowen. Les, how are you today?
Just great, Lois. How are you?
Doing well. Doing very, very well. And the much better mood than we were last week.
Oh, yeah.
After that win. So it's good.
Oops. I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Sorry.
I can hear you. Yes.
My son just ran into the room, so I don't know if that messed up with the audio.
Okay.
But yeah, we're in a much better mood now than we were last week, obviously, after that win, and things are looking better, looking up. But how are things with you?
Just great. I'm thinking of writing something, maybe tomorrow when the coordinators talk about here the Eagles go, giving us the blowout win we all wanted. Darn them for getting our hopes up like this. How dare they?
Oh my God.
We thought we had this team pretty well figured out, and then it turns out that they can actually do stuff. So it'll be entertaining to see what happens going forward. With the poll question, I agree. I mean, I think he has been the focal point all throughout this season. If you get to the point, if the Bengals come out with 9 guys in the box or something, though, you're not going to, run Saquon into the line 20 times. You can still use him as a pass receiver and, make them back off. But, that's probably their primary option for this offense is to a lot of Saquon. And like you said, they also have AJ, and of course, Devontae didn't get anything yesterday, hardly, and he's still here. It's a good situation to have. I don't think they have to gain 170 or 270 yards a game, on the ground to win. But it's nice to see that happen. And certainly it'll be tougher this week, I think, with Cincinnati. I know going into yesterday, the Giants were giving up like 5.2 yards a carry. Cincinnati's given up about 4.4, which is a little more reasonable. And, they certainly probably saw the game yesterday. So we'll see what happens. But, Saquon, as long as he's healthy and feeling chipper, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it just like I said, I said before, like it's just a matter of just keep going what you're doing, and like you've had
Right.
offense has had success, with him. We kind of like this offense has kind of lived and died by him and what he does so far. So just keep on keeping on. Don't change much in terms of like don't try to like run from your identity, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, I wouldn't think they would. Yeah.
yeah, and I think what I saw, and it was great to see as they came out with the film really early. It was available this morning, so I was able to watch it this morning. The offensive side, and it was as a guy who loves, obviously you all know I'm a big stickler for the running back position. It was a lot of fun to see the new wrinkles they continue to add to this run game. That it is so different. From what we're used to. And I'm not saying that like Stoutland has been bad, but like in years past under Stoutland, he's had his, he likes what he likes, inside zone, pin pull, stuff like that, right? But you're starting to see him and more really expand. We're seeing, I mean, the storyline was Ben Van Sumeren again, 5
Mhm.
runs where they had him at fullback. And they were
Fullback season.
Yeah, they had success with it. They continue to add more runs under pistol and under center.
Yeah, under center a lot yesterday.
A
Yeah.
lot. Like there are a lot of different run concepts that they haven't used in the past. And when they brought in Kellen Moore and they hired him, that was one of the things that I was kind of hoping for. I was like, maybe we'll see more run designs, and we're really starting to see it. God knows, like I don't know why it wasn't incorporated more early in the season, but maybe it's something where they're ramping up
Comfortability, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
comfortability. So like, I don't know, Les, like with you, I know you've covered for a long time. Have you seen a thing like that where is that a tendency sometimes when they have like offensive or different schemes that they kind of get more comfortable and they show out as the season goes on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of times I can think of the year they had the 3-headed monster with Deuce and 2 other guys. That kind of developed during the year. I guess Deuce and Westbrook and somebody. I don't know who else.
Buck Halter, yeah.
Oh, Buck. Oh, how can I
Yeah.
forget Buck? Buck was a great guy. Yeah. So yeah, these things do tend to develop during the season. But it is intriguing, and I am glad to see some stuff that looks like Kellen Moore stuff, because there's been so much debate about that, as we all know, from the early season. Every game's not going to be like yesterday. I mean, you had a big lead, you ran it the whole second half because the Giants weren't ever going to score, and you were just trying to run the clock out, But it was really nice to. It's been so long since they had a game like that.
Yeah.
It really. I don't think they had a margin like that last season at all in any game.
I don't think so. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to remember from the top of my head. I think the last time we won like by more than double digits, or like felt like we had the game in hand the whole time, was it against the Dolphins? Was it
Yeah.
against the Dolphins?
And I think that was only about a 14-point
Yeah, it
win.
was only like
I think
yeah.
the Bucks game was a bigger blowout than the Dolphins game.
I think the final score still wasn't that much even too. So like like even with those games, like it still wasn't like it wasn't
right.
with this game. So yeah, it feels good to finally have that. Maybe 2022 was the last time we had like a blowout win like this. So it was really good to see. We have a question here from Martian Lynch 33. Les, was that not a good performance by Jalen yesterday? I'm talking by 2024 Jalen standards.
Yeah, again, you had to kind of throw out the first quarter, which you have to do every week for some reason. I don't understand it. But for the whole offense, not just him, for the whole offense, you had to throw out the first quarter. But after that, he was very efficient. There were some things he probably could have done. Some guys he didn't. There was one time Mark Sanchez noted the receiver open when Jalen was scrambling, but I think he had Brian Burns in his face. And, you don't always see the guy when you've got a rusher, especially when you're not a large quarterback, which Jalen is not. But he was very efficient, did not turn the ball over again, which is so important. And that 4th and 3 play was just ridiculous. It was, I would never have called that. And it was almost a disaster because he got hit as he was trying to throw it. But he threw it beautifully. It was one of probably his best throw of the year, I would say. Hit AJ right in stride for the touchdown. And it was right then that you knew the Giants were losing. And I think the Giants knew they were losing after that too. So, yeah, he had a good game. By the current standard, I think there are some people out there when you belabor the Saquon Barkley thing too much. There are people that don't want Jalen to throw the ball at all. Let's just not, no, you can't win that way. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with a quarterback who never throws the ball or only throws it 14 times like yesterday. But you can win without him. The game is changing a little bit. You're seeing a lot of running. You're seeing more defense in some cases. You can probably win without him throwing it 300 yards a game, which is the way it was just a few years ago in the NFL. So, yeah, I thought he played well.
Yeah, I know that there was a tweet by Fran Duffy earlier today, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Fran Duffy is one of my favorite people to follow, and he said that this was probably the worst he's seen Jalen this season. So I'm paraphrasing, but he was pretty much saying it wasn't a good game by Jalen. And I was telling PY before we came on that I can understand for the most part what he was saying. I think looking at the film, there were definitely times where Jalen just didn't see certain guys. There were definitely times where he kind of put the pressure on himself. He would do his thing where he bailed the pocket.
Those early sacks were horrible.
They were bad. They were bad. Exactly.
We were back into that thing where instead of taking off and being decisive, he was kind of wandering around back there waiting to get tackled. And, that doesn't work. I mean, you throw the ball or run, one of the two. You can't just sort of circle around and go backwards. In fact, one of them I said was like a Kevin Cobb sack. When one of the things that happened for Kevin, who was actually not that bad a quarterback, but one of the things that happened after he started getting concussions and getting knocked around a lot, he started just going straight back. Which you can never do as a quarterback. That's the worst thing you can do. You can't get it back to the line of scrimmage to avoid grounding. You're not going to outrun these guys and turn the corner or something and go around all of them. And that was one of those sacks yesterday. He just started running straight backward for some reason.
I remember. I know that it's exactly.
But that was all pretty early. I did not think he played poorly overall, and I'm kind of surprised that Fran thought that. I mean, there weren't that many opportunities for him to play poorly.
There were, yeah. I think he was, I think it was late because he did highlight 2 plays where it's just they ran mesh concepts 2 different times, and Jalen pretty much just missed the alert, to Saquon in the end zone, and then he also before that it was the one where he was eyeing down Kenny Gainwell down the sideline the wheel route, and he just stuck on him too long, and he missed Smitty, Devontae Smith, roster. So like the things like that, and mesh is obviously we all know mesh is a concept they love. We've run that. One of their favorite concepts. So it's like, you would think that he would know, but we'll
Right.
see. I understand it probably wasn't his best outing that we've seen this year, but I think also from the standpoint of he didn't have to do too much and he didn't turn it over, so like I'm not going to be upset about it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think I can admit that like it wasn't his best game, but it's okay. Like I'm okay
And
with
a
it.
41-yard touchdown pass on 4th down
Yeah.
with a rusher hitting you in the face. To me, that outweighs. I don't know how people grade, what their systems are, but to me, that would give you enough points to pass the exam almost.
Yeah, yeah. And remember what I said last week? It's just like they're going to do that, and we see it. Like, how many teams do we know that can get away with just like, oh, he's down there somewhere. I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
we're gonna hit that. Like, and I'm surprised on that call. I'm very surprised that Dallas, called quarters because essentially it was one-on-one with AJ on the outside. Like, I don't know why you would do that, but they called it, thank God, and they we got what we got. So I mean,
and it wasn't like he threw up a jump ball either. It was right in AJ's hands.
It was a dime. Yeah, it was a dime. They have that connection.
Dime.
They do really really well with it.
Back-to-back weeks, you're basically calling that play.
Yeah, they have that connection, and it's not going to hit every time. Like I said last week, there are going to be times where it's not going to come through. But there aren't a lot of duos in the league that I would bet money on having success as much as they do. So
he also hit one to AJ over the middle, which caused me to nearly swoon.
Yes, yeah, they did.
Well.
How are you, sir? Can he hear us? I don't know if he can hear us. Okay. So
oh my god.
We'll get to him in a bit. But Les, there's another question. Hold on 1 second, sorry. Don asks, oh my son. Don says, I know it's the Giants. How encouraged were you by the defense, especially the D line? And then Martian also asks, who do you see on the defense maintaining solid play on a weekly basis if yesterday was a special day from that group? So kind of like, a two-parter, I'll put it together because it has to do with the defense.
Well, I think DeJean has made a huge difference in the coverage on the back end, and Mitchell keeps getting better. And I think, at least against Daniel Jones, that gave the line a lot of time to get home.
Yep.
As we saw last week with the Browns, a lot of those sacks were coverage sacks.
Sacks, yep.
They weren't just beating the guy outright and going right to the quarterback. Sweat had one like that, which was a real nice one, where he beat the chip and the tackle and sacked the quarterback early. But there weren't a lot of those. Most of them were coverage sacks. I thought the D-line played well. It was a weird game. The Giants never really tried to establish the run. Jordan Davis hardly played at all in the game because they weren't running the ball. You saw a lot of guys do good things. Bryce Huff, they finally got him in the 4-point stance. I don't know why this took so long.
He was talking about that.
It was to not have him in a 4-point stance, but somehow that has been straightened out, and he looks like a different player. He's not, the greatest I've ever seen, but at least you notice him.
You can see the effect. Like, he was all over the place on Sunday, Les.
Right.
And like, obviously, Fangio has his moments where he'll try and make guys do things that they're not comfortable with from time to time. But like with a player like Bryce Huff, there are things that he does really well, and there are things he does not do well.
Right.
I would think that with someone of his talent and the money they're paying him, you would go out of your way to put him in situations that he feels comfortable with.
Oh, absolutely.
And they figure that out, which is helpful. Right. My next point would be, so the last 2 weeks, we've had a really good pass rush. And obviously, you're playing the Browns and you're playing the Giants. I get that. But do you think a large portion of that is the fact that they put Cooper DeJean in the nickel and they feel more comfortable with their guys holding their coverage, so they're able to send guys? And
the coverage is
against
so
Avonte Maddox.
Yeah, this coverage
we
is
all
so
love
much
Avonte,
better.
but
they've also had
DeJean
quarterbacks who aren't going to pick you apart. I mean, it's a combination. I think the coverage has been a lot better. They've also had quarterbacks who held the ball, and we'll see with Joe Burrow this weekend. how much of it is real improvement. But if you can put 2 weeks together, maybe that gives you, confidence, cohesiveness, that kind of stuff to moving forward. I thought Jalen Carter had a heck of a game. I really did think it was a good game for the defense. I hope Bond didn't hurt himself there, because that would be a huge.
That would be a killer.
Yeah.
Nakobe Dean. They were using Nakobe Dean mainly to blitz, and that's the way to use Nakobe Dean.
That's the way to use him. Get him down there.
He could be a wrecker in the pass rush, just not in coverage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just going forward. Yeah.
Exactly. Mr. Pete Evans, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Good. All right. So, you can go ahead and answer the poll, because since you're late to the party. But Saquon Barkley should continue to be the primary focal point of the offense. Agree or disagree?
I disagree to the poll, because I just think it should be running game, just running the ball, regardless if it's Saquon or running the ball effectively. Should be.
It's going to be Saquon. Saquon's going to defeat.
Run it through Gainwell.
They're not going to give Gainwell or Shipley.
I think we should switch over to Shipley. Yeah.
I need the Will Shipley game.
Yeah. Did he freeze? Did we lose him again? We might have lost him again. All right. We'll get him back in a bit. But yeah, I think that by default, if you're going to go running game, it's going to be Saquon. So Martian also asked.
Chuck, you're still frozen on my end.
Oh, you were
frozen.
I think that was you. Nope, it's you again. Yep, that's him again. Technical difficulties with people.
Hard internet.
Back. Yeah,
I knew this would never work.
Curse you, interwebs.
Yeah, so Richie does ask a handful of questions here, a few questions. He does say, or he does ask one, why did they give Hurts the 2 rushing touchdowns over Barkley? I'll say that just because they were at the goal line and it was during the tush push.
They were running the tush push. And Barkley got one, did he not?
Yeah, Barkley did get one, the 3-yard run.
I don't see him going away from that. And I don't see, this whole thing comes up about guys getting hurt.
Who's getting hurt?
I've never seen that. It happened with another team. Was it Kansas City? Did Mahomes?
Yeah, Mahomes. Okay.
Yeah. But the Eagles have never gotten anybody hurt with this. Yeah. Now, what I do see, and that when there was a big conversation about outlawing it, what I would like to see outlawed, and I think they did do something with this. A lot of times downfield, a back gets stopped, sort of, and teammates come running in behind him and slam in to try to knock him.
Oh, yeah.
Knocking. There, somebody is going to get hurt. Yep. But I don't see the tush push as being that big a collision for anybody. I mean, you could suffocate under the weight of all those people, I guess, but I don't see otherwise how you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I get it. If Eagles fans, they don't like the look of it because it's not sexy. And I understand you want Saquon to get his touchdowns, but he's going to get his scores. They're not going away from the tush push. It's a 97, 98% success rate. It's just not happening.
Mark Sanchez thought they were going to use it on 4th and 3.
Yeah, he did.
Eagles great, Mark Sanchez.
It was the 4th and 3. He wanted to see the tush push, and then when they threw the ball, his line was about like a corporal throwing a hand grenade out of a foxhole. If I remember correctly, did he?
I'm glad I missed that line. I'm so glad I missed that line.
When Mark was with the Eagles, nicest man in the world.
Right.
Really.
I still remember when he randomly pulled up to
life. He was never offended that people thought he was terrible. You could bring up the butt fumble. He thought it was funny.
He's a good sport.
Great guy, but I as an analyst, I don't know.
I mean, there's slim pickings out there less for analyst jobs.
But somebody reminded me on Twitter yesterday about Mark, that watching Mark as a quarterback, it was so frustrating because he wasn't just terrible. Some guys are just terrible. Like when they had that guy McMahon back in the mid.
Yeah. Mike McMahon?
Mike McMahon, yes. Not Jim McMahon. Mike he was just
the Garcia.
He never did anything. What Sanchez would do, he would move the team down the field, pinpoint throws, great decisions. 85-yard drive, get to the red zone, and throw an interception.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sanchez
Again and again and again, he would do it.
he was just a roller coaster quarterback to where like you had that like the game against the Cowboys that one year where he just dominated and you're just like, oh my God, do we have something here? And then we get utterly destroyed like the next week.
And I'll never forget that year. That was Thanksgiving.
Yep.
That was Thanksgiving, and I think they beat the Cowboys. I want to say I'm going to shoot the score out there, 33-13.
Something
And
like
then
that.
It was a whooping.
Christmas Eve, that had to be, I want to say, was that 2014?
That was 2014.
2014,
We were 10-6. We were 10-6 and missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that's when
that's
when Foles broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm glad to see I'm not having any more technical difficulties, folks.
Good.
Yeah.
Technology is great when it works.
Let's go to this question by Martian. And I'll open this up for all of us because it's a good discussion point again. Yes, how willing is Fangio going to be to adjust the personnel as opposed to him asking the group to keep doing what he wants? I guess much like those disgruntled players in Miami. Les, what do you think first?
Well, I think the Bryce Huff 4-point stance thing is encouraging in that regard. Because before he was, I remember Brian Baldinger, I think I mentioned this several weeks ago after a bad game by Huff. Baldinger mentioned in one of his videos that Bryce Huff is not an outside linebacker. You just can't make him be an outside linebacker. He's an edge rusher, and you have to use him as an edge rusher pretty much, period. So they're doing that now. So that gives me hope, but I don't really know, what his feelings are going to be. I don't think there's a lot of square peg, round hole kind of situations they have right now that I can really think of. I think everybody is in pretty much, they're doing more press, than they were early in the season. I think they do have the personnel for that. I don't see it being a big problem. Now, with Miami, they did have some disgruntled guys, but they also had a lot of injuries, I think, the second half of the season. So you never know what, he's had a lot of other defenses other than that one. So I'm willing to think that he's going to be willing to adjust.
The thing with Fangio defenses is they always kind of start off a little rough.
Yeah.
And then as the season goes on throughout injuries, and I don't know if it's just the acclimation period, especially with new personnel coming in and understanding the system. It's definitely something that is, as the season goes on, the defense starts to tend to play well together. I would think, even though with the two QBs that they played in the past 2 weeks not being world beaters, Daniel Jones hasn't looked that bad against anyone. He's looked somewhat workable.
The Giants have had, they beat Seattle.
Yes.
I mean, they've had,
Bengals only won by 10.
The Giants to play like that yesterday. I really
did.
And
that took a Chase Brown TD late to kind of ice that game away because they were only up by 3. I mean, and also from the same standpoint, from the offensive perspective, I don't think the Giants really have given up 28 points this whole year. So there's things to take away from some 24 hours ago, more like 36 hours ago now almost, that are encouraging. But I definitely think that is something to build off of. And a lot of things that can go along with that is confidence, right? And guys knowing where they need to be. And what do we always said it in the offseason. What Fangio's defenses need are safeties. And now the secondary is playing more like a cohesive unit. And you're starting to see even the front seven start to play more like a cohesive unit. And with the insertion of Cooper DeJean and that influx of talent with Quinyon, he can just do different things. And this offensive line they're going against Sunday isn't the best. And yes, Joe Burrow gets the ball out quicker. But now on the back end of the defense is playing a little bit more cohesive, can make Burrow hold on to a little bit longer just for the passers to get there. But Cincinnati,
a little bit of Sidney Brown yesterday too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, we did.
Pass deflection.
Yeah,
almost a pick too. That was almost a pick.
Yeah, and now to Les's point with Huff and Baldy's point, I think Fran Dunphy said it on PHLY. He said kind of the get off is about the same. The only thing I would say that is different, and for the biggest thing is confidence. Once again, if Huff thinks he's being more effective, we can see that, and that translates to tape. He's gonna have more effort. He's gonna have more want to, but also his center of gravity. He doesn't have to kind of crunch down. He's already down there, so it's a difference in getting that same speed. And I'm coming up into you, pause, where I can explode into your chest, pause again. I'm sorry, but it just is what it is. It's harder to get an anchor point, right? So it is something to be said just for that, because he's not the tallest, lankiest dude. He's not a Brian Burns, right? He's not a Myles Garrett. He's not a Max Crosby. He's not built like that. He's closer built to Darren Sproles or someone of that faction, or him and Nakobe Dean. If you set them side by side, I think Bryce Huff made this feel a little bit taller, right? But one's a linebacker and one is also an outside linebacker or edge rusher. So, but like Les said, there's not a lot of square pegs and round holes right now. I have a personal question for you, Les. Do you think as we get closer to the trade deadline, will they make a move? And where do they make a move if you think to make a move?
I would still like to see an edge rusher. I don't think it's unlikely you're going to get some great, all-world edge rusher in here at the trade deadline, but you could probably find somebody that can get some snaps. I'm really worried, as much as I've enjoyed, and he didn't play a whole lot yesterday. BG, at 36, if he goes down right now, you're in trouble. So I would love to see another edge rusher in the mix, just somebody who can play, not a nothing, but a guy that can get you a sack here and there and hold the edge and stuff like that.
There's going to be some guys available on the Browns, that's for sure.
Yeah, but they're not going to trade Myles Garrett. Now, maybe they have somebody else who might be.
Joker.
We've been talking about Njoku for a while. As Richie MC does say, November 5th is the trade deadline, and would you like to see Njoku? Yeah.
I would love Joko.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
I think it would be a great addition. I think that it just depends on the price, because there's already backlash about how the Eagles spent a 3rd-round pick to trade for Dotson and they're not using him. Yeah. So why would you trade another, even if it's a 4th? Like, why would you trade another 3rd or 4th for Njoku when you're not going to probably use him? So that's the thing. If the Browns are willing to part with him for like a 5th, then I'm game. But I think anything from like a 3rd or 4th round pick, I think that's still too pricey.
It has to be like 5th or 6th.
Yeah, make it conditional. Make it like conditional 5th or 6th, so that if Njoku meets certain terms or certain qualifiers, then that draft pick changes up and gets bumped up. So it all just depends.
Do we know how long Goddard is out?
No.
He's not on IR, so probably another. I'd say.
What's the injury? A shoulder or something like that?
What was it? Groin?
Ooh.
Groin or hamstring? I forget. It's one of those.
As the Cranberry said it best, those can linger.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't quote me.
You know.
I do not know if it's a groin. It's like I think it's either a groin or a hamstring, if I remember. But he's not on IR, so like I would assume he's not going to miss 4 games. To backtrack a little bit, because I didn't want to get to that question about the defense. When it comes to Bryce Huff, I think
it is a hamstring, by the way.
Hamstring. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. When it comes to Bryce Huff, I think that I remember, Pete, when you brought that up and you were talking about the Baldinger video. I was the one that kind of backed off of it. I was like, yeah, I see his point. It probably helps, but at the same time, I'm not going to say that like it's the prime reason. And I think Fran agreed with me, in terms of Fran was saying how like if you're talking about explosive get off the line, it's the same. But to your point, that's where the problem was. It's more like, what's he doing as a counter once he gets to that, to the offensive tackle? And he's not, he wasn't making those moves that he had made in New York to kind of counter, and that was the issue. It wasn't about the get off or explosiveness. And maybe you're probably 100% correct. Going into 4-point stance does affect your leverage from that point. Maybe not so much the get off, but the leverage that you're seeing, because I'm, for me playing sports or being active in anything I do, I am a short guy. Like I totally can understand the difference when I'm coming from a point of where I'm lower to the ground, as opposed to if I'm like sitting up high. So I completely understand. And I think it's a great point. I think we're starting to see that comfortability from Huff where he's able to get that lower leverage and do certain things to help him win. I think it's a good thing to see. And I'm glad, and it circles back to the point about Fangio. Like, I think what you've seen from the Sai last year and Gannon the year before are disciples of Fangio and Eberflus, who are just they are just their scheme, right? They stick to what they do, but that's the reason why I liked the Fangio hire, because he's the architect of this whole scheme, but he knows how to adjust things. He's shown in the past, like, he is not glued to one thing. He's able to change things up depending on the opponent, and I think that's a good thing we need to keep in mind. Like, I bless what you said was perfect. Like, there's no square pegs and round holes. I think Fangio does a really good job of knowing the weapons he has on defense and making sure that they are put in a good place. And I don't think there would be many defensive coordinators who would have seen a guy like Cooper DeJean and say he's in the slot. Like, I know I wanted him in the slot. I saw him as a slot guy, but some people saw him as safety. Some people saw him as outside corner. I love that Fangio agreed and put him in the slot, because we're seeing now the difference his level of physicality and his overall athleticism combo does. He's in the slot. So I think Fangio, I'm okay with Fangio. And I think, Les, I remember what I told you. I never expected the defense under Fangio to be an elite unit, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be an elite unit. They just have to. They have to be good enough, and they have to make plays when needed. And I think we're starting to see, like, hopefully a catalyst for them to start to be better, and going forward. So,
I agree.
Yeah, I think Martian has another question. Les, do you think Fangio gets coffee up in the booth? I feel like
he did not read that question before putting that on the screen. I know.
I'm sure there is coffee, but I don't know if he's. I don't know if he's. That would be. That's a little bit cruel,
Les, do you think? From what I saw from yesterday, right? And I'm trying to cram a lot in here because I technical difficulties once again, but I'm here now. That type of win yesterday, with the week that they had for the head coach, was not painted in the best light. Some of it could be this Philly media, but also he did a lot of it to himself, and he has some accountability for that as well. To see the team rally around that and have this type of dominant win against the divisional foe, and once again, people will say Giants stink, Giants that. Like, they have not been playing bad, right? To see that dominant win for 45 minutes of football, I'm only not counting the 15 minutes because we still don't have any points in the first quarter through 6 games now, 7 weeks of the NFL season. We've got to figure that out. But I felt like I saw a team start to, Chuck's mentioned the word catalyst, as a rallying cry to where they actually played as a unit, to where you can kind of start to see the 2024 Eagles identity, right? Do you think that carries on? Do you feel the same? And do you think that carries on through the rest of the year?
Yeah, I'm always a little skeptical about statement wins in any sport, because so often the next game is nothing like the one that you just saw. But I do think it's clear that the players have his back, that he's still respected in the locker room, that guys are listening to him, and that this isn't a mess. That was not a mess of a game. The Browns game kind of was a mess, which was really the problem. People expected this game when they played the Browns,
right?
And they didn't get it. But it's clear he's in charge of the team. It's not, the ship isn't sinking, and we'll see what happens if they beat the Bengals and beat them, with a heads-up game. Then I'll be pretty on board with all this, I think. Until then, it's kind of like, okay, that was great, but it's a lot of season to play, 11 games left, and we'll see how they navigate all this. There are some things like the Fred Johnson situation right now.
You read my mind, because I'm thinking about number 91. Yeah. Number 91 on Cincinnati's defense is my main priority. Trey Henderson. That is my main priority.
Fred had a bad start yesterday. Again, like a lot of people, I thought he got better, but his overall grades on PFF weren't weren't good at all.
Yeah.
He's much better at running ball,
Yeah.
I think, than he is pass blocking. You're not going to be able to do what you did yesterday against everybody. You're going to have to throw it some. There are just little things like that could get in the way, could trip you up. But yeah, I'm encouraged, and I think clearly the team is still a unit. It's not like last year where guys were kind of giving up, I felt.
Right. Like, I feel like after a week like they had, right?
Yeah.
And this team showed some resolve. They didn't fold it in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, they had 5 weeks last season where they could have had, you wish you would have saw something like this then. Yes. To kind of stop that bleeding, to kind of answer all these questions and have a performance like this to where you get in the locker room, these guys are celebrating, they're picking each other up, having each other's back, having the coach's back. Still, the haircut still looks completely stupid and hideous, and it's growing in. He didn't touch it this week, so hopefully he realized, like, okay, maybe I'm just going to put this back in.
Well, as the beard grows in, he looks a little less.
He's in a supervillain era.
Yeah. To me, he looks like a guy, headed for execution in the morning or something. But,
he looks like Jack from Lost. That's what he looks like.
Oh man, no, but it's all good stuff, man. Like I said, like segue to Cincy, right? And I know Chuck's probably wants to answer some comments real quick, but number 91, I couldn't tell you who their linebackers are. I know Geno Stone just went down. I think he's going to miss the game for sure. I don't know how healthy Cincinnati is. But I think Burrow got sacked a decent amount of times yesterday.
Yeah, they're not a great offensive line, and defensively there was talk when they were struggling so much early. There was talk that their defense had slowed down a good bit, but they played a lot better since then. That's kind of their pattern over the last several years. They start out horrible and then just suddenly click into gear.
They grind it out, and that's when you talk about the defense playing as a cohesive unit. I think we have more standout players on our defense, more recognizable names, but we need to play as a unit Sunday because
and you're on the road again too. I kind of didn't realize that right away. I was looking at the schedule. I was thinking, they got to come home sooner or later, right?
I think we have a lot of home games.
This is one of the stranger schedules I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Really
there's
is.
There's a lot of home games in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before you head out, Les, we have a couple more questions. Don wants to know your thoughts on the NFC East as a whole so far.
Oh God. Well, the Commanders certainly look good. I mean, their quarterback got hurt and they didn't miss a beat.
Mariota
playing with confidence and poise, and everything is going well there. I want to see how they really look when the Eagles play them. Other than that, it's the Cowboys are a lot like the Eagles, except not as good. The Cowboys defense is not going to get a lot better. I don't think they're going to get Micah Parsons back, but that'll help. But they still aren't a good defense. They still aren't a great offensive line. They still don't have great weapons. And their owner is the oldest general manager in the NFL. And you can tell, I mean, when he gives these confabs, it's kind of like people are like, what now?
Right.
I don't. Dallas was the team I thought had the most talent coming into this season. I don't know if that's true. They've had so many injuries and so many, things just not go their way. The Giants, you just saw the Giants. There's not much good going to happen there, I don't think. And Washington, for a team, that hasn't been good in so long, they're clearly building something there. And
I think Daniels is week to week or day to day.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad injury. He'll certainly be back. They don't play the Eagles for.
No, they play us 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah, okay.
The first week of November. I think it's a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Is it the Thursday night game?
He'll be all right by then, was my point.
Yeah, he'll be.
But now I think he'll be more conscientious of how he's running around there because he
should be. He has to be.
Yeah, like you're not untouchable now. Like you got touched yesterday. And lucky enough, you were playing the Panthers, who, once again, that's a team that's building something, right? So,
Right.
I like Xavier Legette a lot, but it's a different class of competition. I didn't know when they played the Ravens that B-Rob missed that game. I don't know how much of an outcome and difference that it makes, but they may be able to sustain some drives. Brian Robinson is a running back that does not get talked about enough.
He's a good back. I had a third
that's
round
a
grade
really
on him.
good team. So we'll
Good
see. It'll
back.
be the Eagles or the Commanders, I would guess.
Yeah, it says Commanders, Eagles Thursday, Eagles, Cowboys the Sunday before. So we get Eagles, Cowboys that Sunday. Short week, Commanders, Eagles. Jeez.
Wow.
And we're on the road for the Cow. That's in Dallas.
That's tough. That is a tough one.
Yeah. So I think that may be that's that after the Jacksonville game?
Let's see. I've got it scheduled.
Yes,
right
because
here.
Jacksonville's after we play the Bengals. Yeah. And that got
Jacksonville is the game after Bengals. You're right. November 3rd. Then Dallas is November 10th. Washington November 14th, and then you have 10 days to prepare for going to the Rams.
Yeah.
And is that what is the splits for that, Les? Is that home, away, home?
The homes, you're away this week, home against Jacksonville, away for Dallas, home for Washington, away for LA, then at Baltimore, which is going to be tough.
We get any 2 weeks in a row where they don't have to.
Panthers at home, Steelers at home. So you got those two back to back.
That Baltimore game.
Then you go to Washington, and then you have home games against the Cowboys and the Giants. So the last 5 weeks, the only road trip is Washington, which is good, I guess. But, you got to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to get there healthy. I mean, it seems like there's something around the league this year.
A lot of injuries. Yeah.
A lot of injuries. Ayuk goes down. I mean, it's just.
Debo's down too. Debo has.
Debo had pneumonia. Got pneumonia fluid in the lungs.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching the Tampa game before I came on here with you guys, and Mike Evans hurt his hamstring again.
Yeah.
And
he was questionable for the game, right?
Yeah.
Into the game.
He caught a touchdown pass and almost caught another, but hurt himself almost catching the second one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It
is crazy. It is crazy. And then, I don't know if you want to answer this really quick, Les.
Sure.
And I know you talked about this. I asked this to you before, but just so Matt can hear it, he asked, he understands Lurie wants a high-level pass offense. What would it take for this offense to go full power run?
I don't know. I just don't think, again, you're paying A.J. Brown, you're paying Devontae Smith, you're paying Dallas Goedert. You're not going to just run the ball. Nobody does that, I think we don't really know how Lurie feels about what's going on in the league right now. Like I've been saying, some trends have changed here lately. Several years ago, he certainly thought that you had to throw a lot to win, and you did. I don't know if his thinking has changed on that. I have no idea, but you do have to be an effective passing team to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Matt, I just don't think what you're envisioning is really going to happen. Excuse me.
It's that time of year, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get my shots. But yeah, the Les, as always, and as you go, Martian does say here, Les on Twitter is the best. His clapbacks are always a must read. They are.
Thank you,
love you on Twitter, Les.
Very short and sweet. They're like 10 words or less, and they're straight up.
They're hilarious. You are hilarious, Les. And as always, you are great. It's great having you on here every.
Well, it's good to be with you. I really like it. So take care.
Appreciate you.
We will see you next week, and hopefully after another Eagles win. Until then, we'll see you.
Bye, Les.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Les.
That's Les Bowen on the Birds of A2D Radio. Always love having him here. And remember, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Follow us. You know you love to. You know you want to. Let's hit on some last minute. I guess you could say spotlights for the game before we move on to the NFL. Anything else you guys want to bring up from the Eagles-Giants game that we haven't addressed so far?
Don't know if it was addressed. Second week in a row, no turnovers from Jalen.
Yes, it was.
Also, second week in a row, we throwing Hail Mary balls to AJ Brown, which when they work, everybody's happy.
That's who they are.
F it. We both. AJ down there somewhere.
When we talked about the third down play, Devontae's running right there on the deep crosser, on the shallow crosser. I don't know. It's almost like, can we get a body cam on the quarterback and just kind of see what they see? It may not last the whole game, but I definitely think it's a perspective that would be helpful, because I just sometimes just sitting from the couch, maybe get all the 22 tape, right? And it's just like what is going through his head? Like, what is going on between those ears? Just where it seems like he's just buffering, like how I was earlier, just stuttering, like making decisions. And I know you have a preference on what you want, right? I know every quarterback has a preference when the play is called on what they want, where they may want to go with the ball. I need him not to, if he is, I would wish that he would not always want to go with that main option. As much as you like it, there could be something else over here. Like, I think that's what made Brady so great, is that it didn't matter what the number. I mean, if he had Moss, but he threw it to Welker, he threw it to Edelman. It didn't matter, right? So, and the bigger picture is the win. The bigger picture is the momentum. And I don't think sometimes this team is, from an offensive perspective, from the coaching down, and this is in Jalen as well, they don't realize the flow, right? They don't realize the momentum. They don't put a sense of urgency on that, of maintaining drives, getting cohesion, building towards something that's the bigger picture. It's like they're more than comfortable having 2 series, 3 and out, and let's try to hit a home run. Like, that's not how this shit's going to work. And now, especially, you don't have to try to hit a home run with Jalen's arm, because you got the most overall best back that's healthy right now in the league. And I don't think Christian McCaffrey is going to be the same after this injury. Achilles even when he said, I don't think he's going to be the same. So you arguably have the best pound for pound running back in the game right now on your team. You know what I mean? And we're giving him a chance. We all saw the clip. Middlebrook, thank you. Shouts out to Bill Middlebrook. Put it on the A2 Radio Real Sports Talk group on Facebook. He put the clip out there with Nick saying, like, hey, I know you're 13 yards away from your all-time high. Do you want it? If you want it, I'm putting you back in. I'm going to take the stars. He said, nah, let the young boys eat. I think even Saquon realizes at this point, like, hey, I'm running behind holes that I never had this much space before.
Yep.
I can get to a level into the season that I've never seen before.
Get the rest when you can get it.
Right. Like, get if you can take those plays off and keep yourself fresh, go ahead and do that. Because I honestly think the division is going to come back to them. They don't. Everybody else in the division is going to start to come back towards them. You're playing your best football in times where you have 4 wins, and 2 of those wins were very, very ugly. People forget, like, the Green Bay game, it was mistakes and stuff like that. The field wasn't the best. There was people running wide open in that game. You know what I mean? And I think we're starting to get to a balance of that. Batberg says we need to commit to the power run with Jalen under center.
Can we start with the power run? We're not doing the power run. The power run is not happening. This is our offense. This is how we're effective. For the love of Christ, can we stop with the power run?
It's not so much the power run. The biggest thing about this is I think out of all 4 coordinators that Jalen has had, even if you go back to his college days, he would rather not be under center. He doesn't want to turn his back to the defense.
He's just not super comfortable with it. And trying to use it more, but like, that's just not, it's just not going to be a large focal point. You're going to see it every once in a while, like you did on Sunday, but it's just not going to be every play.
Yeah.
Well, so I need not to be that guy, but power run with Jalen under center, that doesn't make sense. If you're gonna run QB power, the QB is gonna have to be in shotgun. Not that you can't run power with.
Like, if he were a statue-esque quarterback, I think power run makes a lot of sense, and having Jalen under center makes a lot of sense.
Well, okay, hold on. Like, are we talking about QB power run? What are we talking about power run with Jalen?
I think he's referring to power run, but like, if you looked at yesterday, it's those big running plays that Saquon had, they put Van Sumeren in as a fullback. Like they were using him for a fullback.
I broke down. I have the
Yeah.
on ATD socials now. My breakdown of the 141-yard run by Saquon with Ben Van Sumeren in there is on there. So check out ATD socials for my breakdown on that play. But I like I said at the top of the show, like I think people need to like let's clear things up. Like what are you talking about with power run? Like are you talking about like get physical downhill? Because there is a run scheme called power.
Right.
And when we run QB power, when Jalen's under center, he does well. Those are the type of runs. Wow, that's a nice throw by Lamar. When we do those type of runs, he does well. Those are the type of runs where I want to see from Hurts, stuff like that. QBV, like get him downhill. Now, are you talking about that, or are you talking about like just running the ball down the throats? Because like we've seen really good from this game. I said at the top of the show, Pete, where you weren't here, so I'll say it again. We had a lot of different run schemes against the Giants that we usually have never seen. You know, they ran, like we said, the fullback. We ran ISO. We ran QB counter bash. We ran outside zone pin pull. Like there's a lot of stuff that we started to run, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I want to continue to see more of that. But the PY's rebuttal to Matt Berg, like I think it's good that we're seeing more under center and we're seeing more pistol. And yes,
Right.
we would like to see more play action. Okay. But we're not going to be that type of offense where it's like a complete Kyle Shanahan type of offense, the traditional Kyle Shanahan offense where most plays are under center and we're doing play action. Like play action doesn't work for all QBs. Not all of them are comfortable turning their back to the defense. You ask Joe Burrow to do under center and he's going to laugh in your face. Joe Burrow doesn't like doing under center. He doesn't. That's not who he is. And there are other QBs who prefer shotgun and just so they can see everything. So incorporating them in doses, like that's fine. Like, but it's not going to be the focal point. It's not going to be the main identity of the offense. So yeah, I wanted to clear that up because like, a lot of these things that we're talking about, like you got to be clear. We have to be clear about what the message is. So, anything else regarding the game you guys want to touch on?
More Cooper Machine and more Jalen Hunt.
Oh, I think. Oh, Cooper DeJean's a starter. What more Cooper DeJean do you want? And he's returning punts. What do you want?
More. I want more.
See, this is what happened. You get this influx, of the Mayo people and the Mayo athletes in the secondary, and they just go crazy. You can't make up for all the lost years of Jason Sehorn. There's a couple of. There's one in Denver. I forget his name. What's the Denver DB?
Look, we got some milkmen in our secondary. All right.
I mean, I would rather have two Cooper DeJeans than two Reed Blankenships. I can tell you that.
Don't you ever disrespect like that? That's chalk talk right there.
What's up, Eileen? Can we get Sidney Brown because then he mixed so we can split it down the middle. So
there we go.
It satisfies us on both sides. One thing I will say about the defense is you could kind of see it right now. We're getting to that point where they stabilize. They haven't given them a touchdown in 2 games. Now you're getting the opportunities to cash in on turnovers. Now let's start getting them. Let's get some turnovers.
Quinyon Mitchell get an interception for the love that is always holy.
He should have had one in the game last week, and then Chauncey got in the way. But man, it's talking about white corner.
Why he
I didn't
ain't
see
on
that
offense.
Asian. Listen, shout out the Chucks don't even know this. Shout out to the boy from Tennessee. Because I think that the quarterback from Tennessee, Nico Emalvia.
I think that's the guy I sent to you before. Hold on. I'd have to look it up.
I don't know. And I will also say this. we could kind of end it with non-NFL talk, which would be fine. Tom can just be mad at me. I think that you are going to see now with the 12-team format in college football playoffs, I think the age of an undefeated team during the regular season in college football is over, because now the emphasis isn't on having to be undefeated. You're going to miss your playoff, because now you're going to have one, maybe a two, maybe a three-loss team in the playoffs now.
Good.
Because it's so expanded, which I love for college football. Now you're going to, it's more of a cat and mouse per se, because now you can kind of plan ahead, almost like a tale of two halves for the season. You know what I mean? So it's really going to be a lot of jostle back and forth. I think they said Bama hasn't had 2 losses before the month of November since 2007 or 2004, something like. I think 2007 which was Saban's first year there. So, but yeah, I mean, even in the NFL, man, like what, Niners 3-4 due to health. Chiefs, they haven't played their best football, and they're 5-0. They 5-0 now or 6-0? 5-0, right?
Oh.
I think they're 5-0.
Didn't they 6-0?
6-0.
6-0.
So they're 6-0, and they haven't even played their best football. And Lord help them when Pop get back, because that 2-headed monster of Kareem Hunt and Pop and Pacheco, oh boy, it's now if they would have traded for Devontae, if they would have traded for Amari Cooper, that'd have been something. I definitely think they need something at the wide receiver position. I don't know what's going to be out there for them, or if they are going to make a move. But yeah, I mean, but they won. He really doesn't need it. He's the only quarterback in the league that I think you can win in spite of. Like, I mean, not in spite of, but just specifically because. And he doesn't matter what is around him. Just he's on that Brady level right now.
Yeah, they do just enough.
Yeah.
To win. It's always that, like, they're doing just enough to make the plays, and it's crazy. But
yeah.
That's why they deserve the benefit. I know we had our old buddy on tell us that, like, it's crazy how Mahomes has been playing poorly. He has more interceptions than touchdowns, but they're still winning. And I like I had said, I really don't care how he plays right now. Like, as long as they get into the playoffs, obviously you don't want them to lose every game. But, like, if they're winning, I don't care how he plays, how he looks. Like, they're the one team that can flip the switch come playoff time.
Yep,
they are. Like,
you'll be the worst team in the league until the playoffs happen, and then goat time.
If they're the worst team in the league, they're not going to make the playoffs. But what I'm saying is, as long as they make the playoffs and they're in, they're going to be a dangerous team. They can flip that switch. It doesn't matter, especially after last year, where how bad they looked with no receivers, and then they did what they did. Yeah, it doesn't matter how they look, as long as they get into the playoffs. None of that's going to matter. None of that's going to matter. So,
yeah. Richie MC had a trade offer earlier. I think it was Huff, Trevor Keegan. Yeah, you started. No way, I'm doing that. That's way too much. Yeah, I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to do that. I'm not. I like Keegan. The first, no, if you want to say Huff in the second, but if you're going to do that what would make you do this for Crosby and not for Garrett?
Yeah, if I'm trading first round picks for an edge guy, give me Myles Garrett all freaking day. Like,
how old is Garrett? 30? Is he 30 or 29?
Let's see. I'm looking up now. So Max.
I know Jake said Crosby.
Well, Max Crosby's 27. Myles Garrett is 28.
Oh yeah.
Turned 29 in December. So
all day. All day. I would that should have been an offer on the table already.
Yeah.
I saw there was the NFL posted about, I think 7 to 10 days ago, was a workout video with him and an influencer. Dude, the things this dude does is on a regular day. Like, I think his vertical jump was like 58 inches. Like, it's ridiculous. The man is just a specimen, yeah. And yeah, we need to get him out of Cleveland, yeah. And he may have helped us. He may have helped himself in a sneaky way yesterday with his comments. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
It does. Yeah, it is what it is.
Him and
Right.
Chubb can come together.
I don't know what you would. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you don't need Chubb.
I don't need him, but I would love to have him.
No.
That
I
would
mean-
be fun. I'm sorry. That would be fun to me.
I mean, I guess, but then like you can't have it everywhere. You know what I mean?
I don't have to, but I also don't want him there.
But we've also seen play designs where Devontae's running open and our quarterback, for whatever right, wrong, or a different reason, does not go that option. So you can have all these things in the world. It doesn't mean that Jalen's going to make the right decision half the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I hear you.
Hey, if Carson Wentz and Patrick Mahomes can run a 2 QB system, all right, I can have Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley.
hey man,
it's not going to happen.
No.
We know it's not going to happen.
and every coach is not Andy Reid. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, yeah, very, very true, very, very true. But shout out to Kareem Hunt, who is one of my favorite players before. It's really great to see him do well, and I hope that he continues to stay healthy. And it's kind of like full circle, you know what I mean? Like he was their guy, their featured back, and then that thing happened, and he was gone, and they won Super Bowls without him, and you can only imagine how he feels. So, having him back and making an impact is great to see. Derrick Henry really going to rip off another 90-plus yard run?
Probably.
Oh, just short.
He'll get in. I'll give it to him again.
Yeah.
He'll have not that one. Where's it at? Yeah, he have a great audition period. I'll tell you that. He's gonna have a great chance, and the Eagles brass will get a chance to look at him. I don't know if they're to that point yet, but I've always liked him since he was in New Orleans.
It may be after Sunday.
You know what I mean? So we will see. We will see. So is that right? The Cardinals and Chargers is on ESPN Plus.
Yep.
Closed streaming.
Yeah. I mean, I have it, but I'm not even gonna watch that until this is over. I'm watching Ravens Bucks. So, yeah.
Did they give it back to Henry again to get in?
No, they give it back to Henry, but he's not in yet. Yeah, he's not in yet. But all right, gentlemen, great show. Eagles up 4-2, and we've got a good one this week. So let's hope we've got we can pull out the win against this one. I think the Bengals, you have to be prepared,
right?
Because the Bengals have been very inconsistent. Their defense is not good. Offense is inconsistent, but that at any point their offense can go off. They have the skill position players, and they have Joe Burrow. So defense, you've got to be on one this week. And I'm not too worried about the offense. Well, I can't say it anymore. Scratch that. Offense, please get off to a hot start, because that'll definitely help the defense. Please score points in even if it's a field goal. I would take a field goal in the first quarter at this point.
Have they ever played the Bengals under the Sirianni era? I think they did his first year. Was that was Burrow's rookie year or Doug's last year?
I do not remember.
What year? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I do not remember. So, yeah. Look it up.
He was drafted in 2021. No, 2020. So I think that was Doug's last year. And I think that was the year Burrow, this is the second game of the season, and we tied. Is that the tie? We played Cincinnati here.
2020. Yep.
Yeah, 2020. So the reason I say this is because I don't know. Lou Anarumo, the Bengals DC, just does things differently. He, like I said, he doesn't have standout stars. He has his quality players across the board, and everything is a very team defense oriented thing. So had to be on the P's and Q's, man.
Yep, we do.
And contain Chase Brown.
Amen.
Amen to that. Great show, fellas. Good to be on. Hopefully next week we get the win. Thank you for all those who are listening, and thank you to Baggio's Bread. Remember, A2D Radio, mention us for 10% off your in-store purchase. Catch the rest of our shows here at A2D the rest of the week. We've got something for everyone almost every day. and tune in same time next week. But until then, for myself, for Pete, and for PY, thank you. Peace out. Go Birds.
Go Birds.